Hello and welcome. My name is Biagio Mazza, Pastoral Associate at St. Sabina Parish in Belton, Missouri, and I'm here to welcome you to another Do You Know question. Today's Do You Know question is, do you know how to discriminate between the correct understanding of Islam and the misconceptions prevalent in today's world? In order to do this, we must really focus on some of the key terms and understanding of those terms in Islam. Let's start and begin with the word Islam itself. The word Islam itself is rooted in the Arabic word for peace, or salam, as it would be in Arabic. And peace is understood as a sense of wholeness and balance that's achieved when one has one's priorities and relationships in the right order. And that right order is the order that God intended for them. How do Muslims know what God's intention is with regards to right order and relationship? Basically, God revealed that to Muslims in the Quran, and by being obedient to the Quran and the teachings in the Quran, one establishes right relationships and right priorities, all in their proper order. And so Islam, by its very nature, is a religion of peace, not a religion of violence. In many ways, violence violates the key principles of Islam. There are many people who have distorted the key teachings of Islam by using violence for their own purposes and their own agendas. So violence can be used in Islam, but only in a very restrictive sense. And that restrictive sense has to do for self-defense, so when one's whole life or identity is being threatened. So violence can only be used in a reactive way, not in a proactive way. In other words, violence has just parameters around it. In other words, that can only be used in certain categories or certain time frames, and not whenever someone feels like it, simply because they feel they want to get back at the other. Jihad. Let's go to the term jihad. Jihad actually does not mean, as most people think, holy war. Jihad actually is a reference to a struggle or a kind of tension that exists in one's life between one's desire and God's way of desiring to live one's life. In other words, it's a sense of struggle and the sense of striving to do God's will, to make sure that God's ways are your ways, that you act with God's intentions and God's desires. That's the primary intention and purpose of jihad. Muslim speaks of jihad of the pen, jihad of the mouth, jihad of the heart, jihad of the hand, and eventually even jihad of the sword when necessary. These are strugglings in order to continue to live according to the way God demands of us, and not according to the way we would desire and want. And so jihad is primarily struggling to do God's will in God's life. The reaction with regards to jihad oftentimes is that there are many distortions within Islam with regards to the way jihad is used. And therefore, one has to be very careful when one hears a group claiming jihad against another, because by its very nature, no individual group can claim jihad, but only a legitimate Muslim nation through consensus of its people. When it comes to the actual violence itself and the perversion within Islam of much of the violence, we must be very careful in terms of appropriating blame, because oftentimes groups within Islam use the distortion version of Islam and claim it to be true Islam. One example could be that Christians, for example, would never claim that a Christian who takes a rifle to go kill an abortion doctor is what Christianity is all about. and therefore Muslims, by their very nature, claim that those who go about killing other people, even fellow Muslims, and claim it in the name of Islam, that's what Islam is about. They were very, very clear about the fact that that's not what Islam is about, and refuse to be associated with anybody who uses Islam in that manner. One final point to make would be with regards to suicide and suicide bombers. It's very clear in Islam that suicide is very clearly condemned, that anyone who commits suicide is not welcome in heaven. And so as a result, suicide bombers and all of that is not part of what Islam is all about. And therefore, it's important to realize that the teachings of Islam are teachings of peace and not of violence. Therefore, what I tried to do in this session is to try to clarify some of the true understanding or correct understanding that Islam has of itself, and how much of it is distorted by people who want to pervert the very true teachings of Islam for their own agenda. I would like to end with two things. One is a quote from the Second Vatican Council, Nostra Aetate, the document on the relationship of the church to non-Christian religion. And it ends on this note of encouraging all of us as Christians to work towards this end. It says that over the centuries, many quarrels and dissensions have arisen between Christians and Muslims. The Sacred Council now pleads with all to forget the past and urges that a sincere effort be made to achieve mutual understanding. For the benefit of all people, let them together preserve and promote peace, liberty, social justice, and moral values. And that is the mission that we as Christians have with regards to not only Muslims, but all others who think differently than the way we do. I would like to end, if you want to explore these issues further, I would like to just mention two books. One is John Renard's book, Responses to 101 Questions on Islam, basic primer on understanding Islam. And the other one is A Muslim Printer, A Beginning Guide to Islam by Ira G. Zepp, Jr. These two would be good introductions for you to explore the true and correct understanding of Islam as opposed to the many misconceptions prevalent in today's world. I hope this has clarified some of the true and correct understanding of Islam, and that you will return back again to more Do You Know series as we explore our life as followers of Christ. Thank you very much.